Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. We are having technical difficulties once again with Facebook, but it'll be fixed in a moment. Give me a moment. Here we go. That's why we love our YouTubers. YouTube never lets us down. So good morning. Good morning, everyone. And happy love month. It is February. We are going to be talking about love on our show. I almost forgot what I was talking about for a minute. And so, good morning. I am the badass Buddha Lori Monaco. I am coming to you from a chilly but lovely Eastern Tennessee, where I do believe the weather will go up to the 50s. And yesterday was fabulous, and it was so nice to be outside. And a little chilly, frosty this morning, but I think it's going to heat up. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, my beautiful co-hosts.
Good morning. Good morning. Buenos días, mi gente. Is it cold? It's snippy here, but it's expected. It's Connecticut. So I'm not complaining. So yes, I'm just going to avoid it if I can. So buenos días, mi gente. Good morning. Namaste.
Namaste. Yes, we see that. Good morning. Gail was the first one on through YouTube on her Empowering Process podcast. She's also on Facebook, which we appreciate. Kathy, good morning. And please remember, everyone, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that beautiful stuff. Again, our goal is to try to our goal is to build up our YouTube channel this year and really move people more towards that. I think it will. The dogs, they're playing in the background. But it's just for the reliability. I think YouTube has really done very well for us as far as being reliable and so on and so forth. So how you doing, Gladiator? You're gonna have to talk a little bit so I could shut these dogs up.
Good. Still with my dry cough. So, hola, Milagro, Kathy. Kathy has a lot to talk about today. Gail, good morning. Empowering Process podcast. I'm a princess. I hate when people call people princess.
I always want to do that too. I always want to say princess, and I have to correct myself every time. That's so funny.
So yes, I know Kathy got the book, The Alchemist. Who else has gotten it or started reading it or listening to it on audio? It's really your choice. It's how, people, we don't talk enough about Supreme. I like that. Some of my passwords to get into some stuff is I am beautiful. So I give affirmations every time I log into something. I am wise. And so I like that. Supreme. Oh, you have the book. Good, Gail. So, yes, the learning, how people learn. Like, I don't even think they do that enough in school. Are you visual? Are you audio? Are you touchy-feely? I think all students should be giving that test in the beginning of the year so you can know how is it. Nobody learns the same way, right? I prefer the visual and the touchy-feely. I love the feel of passing the page.
I do too. I love that. And especially that book. That book has really nice feeling pages. It's that soft, it's not really the smooth white page. It's the cream color, like rough kind of page, but it's soft at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I love paper. Yesterday, I had some of my notebooks and this lady looked at it and opened it and she looked at me and I said, oh, you're used to lines. So I went into the whole, the rule line paper. I mean, it says it in the title. It's ruled, which means it's ruling how you big you write, how small you write, how much you write. And she's like, I never looked at it like that. Now, this is a businesswoman, 3 kids. And it's like, yeah, sometimes we just need to bring forth information. And I think that's, and being humans, our job is to be of service to the world, to the masses. And I say, even if we know just what we know and it's fact, then share it. We don't have to be Einstein, Socrates. I just think we all have such valuable information to
Aristotle
enhance
for me.
others' lives. And if we get out of our own way, right, and not worry expectations or assumptions, we can share that. And that's how we learn. But yeah, so I'm audio kinetic, you see, and that's beautiful
Yeah,
to
I am
know.
too. I am
I'm
too.
hands on.
No, I like both. I like reading and listening at the same time. So like I'm reading along, but this is the frustrating thing about that. Sometimes when you listen to Audible with the book, they don't say exactly as it's written. And I don't know, and not every book's like this, but I've discovered that. And when that happens, it drives me insane. There's also sometimes things that they add. This is another little a little nugget with audiobooks is sometimes they add things that they didn't have in the written book too, which is interesting. I found that to be very intriguing. And I always prefer listening to the author read, unless it's Eckhart Tolle, then I just use it to fall asleep because his voice is the most, I mean, it's lovely, it's relaxing, but to read his book and listen to him at the same time just doesn't cut it for me. But so for the, good morning, Priscilla, my friend Priscilla's on. So for those of you that are reading the book, we're going to discuss that in a moment. So we're going to see how far you got. I actually finished it. I read it over the course of about 3 days, only because, and I would have got it done sooner. I just wasn't reading the first day. I wasn't reading it all that much, but I'm going to read it again. But I gave it to my middle daughter to read. And then I also actually gifted it to one of my clients. And then I recommended another client just go and read that book as well. I might end up sending her a copy because there is a huge significance. You know, we were talking about this yesterday, Gladiator Guru and I, and there are no coincidences. And if you read the book, you know that it talks about that. And we never thought twice, like we didn't plan to recommend The Alchemist. It just flowed that way, just as what we created for January and February, like the topics and the focus, it just flowed. Like we've planned this in December, and it has been aligning so much with what we need to hear. But when then we're also hearing it from the tribe saying, this is exactly, it's so weird. That's exactly what I needed to hear. And reading The Alchemist, I was telling Gladiator Guru yesterday that I read it back in 2020, and then about 6 months, within 6 months later, I don't know the exact amount, I read it again. And when I read both times, I had highlighted with a yellow highlighter the areas that I thought were significant to me. This go round, I grabbed a different color highlighter, and I'm intrigued by what I highlighted because I'm thinking, oh my God, in that moment in time, that was so significant to me. And I'm also highlighting different stuff and seeing things differently. So I sent her a text message after I read this one passage, and I said, oh my God, I'm the crystal merchant. And I put a sad face. I said, I just realized that, like, I am definitely the crystal merchant. And when I first read this book, I wasn't connecting with the crystal merchant because I wasn't doing the things that he was doing. I was like, the boy. I was like the boy that was ready and open to travel, and I was really open. But then it's amazing how we change, we shift and change over the years for whatever reason. And so it was a big eye opener for me. And for those of you that are on that part, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you that aren't, you'll get there. And for those of you that have not picked up the book yet, please do so. If you have, just go to the library if you want to. If you read it before, read it again with us for this month. You have a whole month to read it, and you could literally read this book probably 3 times in this whole month if you pace yourself.
Yes, I've read it 9 times already, and every time I've read it, I've come out with something different. And when I heard him, see, I met Paulo Coelho when I think it was 2015. He was on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, but the TV was playing in the background as I'm getting my husband ready to take a shower. So I'm hearing him talk about how he always wrote jingles and whatever. He felt lost. He had a hippie spirit, blah, blah, blah. So he heard about the Camino de Santiago. So he went on that pilgrimage. And his first book he wrote at the age of 41, and it was called The Pilgrimage. And then he talked about The Alchemist. And so I'm taking Eric a shower, and I'm like, I would love to go on that pilgrimage because that's all I heard. And so as time went on, I read The Alchemist, and I didn't want to read The Pilgrimage until I completed mine. So I couldn't, and we walked the, same areas. But The Alchemist is because he went on that pilgrimage and he fell in love with Spain. And that's why it's all about Santiago and the south part of Spain. So what I'm saying is every time I read it, I found something different. The Pilgrimage is very spiritual. All his books are spiritual. If you really pay attention, they all speak of a spirituality, of exactly what Gail said. It's like there's dots there, and we connect them when we follow our path. And he didn't make mistakes by traveling all around. It was the journey. It was his purpose, his destiny. So I think the more you read it, the more you understand yourself, because that's what we always want to do, is when we go out into the world and share ourselves, is for the boomerang to come back with more enlightenment towards ourselves. Look at my cup.
I love it. Well, and I had my love cup, right? This is for my coffee, and this is for my water.
Yeah, this is my water cup. Viva! So
I was going to use our Viva cup too, but I'm like, I wanted to really spread the love. And
no, that's good.
I even bought shirts. Like I realized I really don't have a lot of red, in my life, and so I went out and I bought a bunch of, I bought a couple tank tops because I like layering. I bought a couple of shirts. This time of the year, it's all Valentine's Day stuff. So, and here's something interesting, right? There really wasn't a lot of shirts in the Valentine's section of Walmart, and because that's the only store I went to because I was just in a hurry. And in there, how many love shirts? Oh my God, these dogs are there with in the bedroom section, like in the pajama section. So I'm looking at this going, I love it, but it's so funny that they limit just saying love or having love on your shirt to your pajamas. So I said, screw it. I'm going to buy the shirt. I bought them anyway. I bought a couple of shirts that say love. I don't care if they're pajamas, and I'm going to wear them as much as possible this whole month.
And you know why you did that? Because you are your first love. And in that moment, you realize it. And it doesn't matter. We're home. I was like, what am I going to wear tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, I meant, what shirt am I wearing? Right?
What shirt?
Hello, Tiffany Bryant. So good to see you. I've been seeing your pictures. You look amazing, darling. Yes. Amazing. And Gail, that picture you posted that I commented on, the goodbye part, that was so courageous. That was just so exciting. That was just filled with love and more so than sorrow. And it's that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, because this new year came in with a bang. So today's topic is, who's your first love?
Your
right?
First love. Yep. Your first love.
And when you say that, people are like, oh, my children, or this or that, my daddy, the first man I ever loved. And I think as we stumble through life and we have to crawl underneath something and get dirty, we have to climb over something, we stumble and fall, we have to seek assistance. And then you get to where you get to, only to start over, to go to the next level and the next level. And I think that when we display our vulnerabilities, when we display our accomplishments, it's love. And I think, they said that there was two, but I forgot one. I'll get back to that. The two most difficult things you encounter is in life was blah, blah, and self-love. And that's why Viva Cafe con Leche, we sit down. And when I tell you that when we sit down to discuss these titles, in the beginning, we don't even realize that that we're so surrounded by ancestor love, well, we're so surrounded by like if we're traveling to another realm that's telling us you need to talk about this. Because when we sit down to write these titles and we discuss why the actual title, and then we play around with the title because sometimes they're like this big, it's because it's maktab. It has been written that we must discuss these titles at this certain time going forward. And then when we sit down like we did and we're like, can you realize how we set the tone for everything that was going to happen without even realizing it? And it is what we didn't realize is how fortunate we are to sit in spirit and know what we need to do without knowing. Because sometimes when we know, we're too big for our britches. So actually love my spirituality where it doesn't excel me to feel like, oh, well, I know this, I'm good at this, I'm the Queen of Sheba spiritualist. No. If you follow the path that you're supposed to be walking on without being prideful, without becoming bigger, power makes people the most evilest motherfuckers you can find. So I think when we just flow with the knowing that we are on the right path, magic happens and it reaches out to the masses. And I told you, if 1 out of 10 gets whatever message we're putting out on every show, we have succeeded. We are in abundance because that one person was shared with another person and the trail goes on to the other side of the world. So never limit yourself because you are. To me, I love myself. I am the most important person in my life. So, and there are days where I'm like, I can't believe blah, blah. Like I have been with this dry cough for over 3 weeks now. And I'm like, okay, I have to learn something out of this. What is it? Patience or whatever. Because starting since January, the deaths, and I don't know if she's coming on today, but for those who don't know, Iritza lost her father on Friday. So, she's up and down with it as to be expected because Iritza is a very sensitive, big heart, loving individual. You tell her your story, Iritza's crying as though it was her story because she feels that. And it took me years and years and years to learn that about her. Or no, let me not lie, to accept that because I have a hard time with people crying in front of me. So love is everything you are. And when you sit with yourself, and if you got a husband, a significant other, your children, and you realize the condition you're placing on them to be loved, and by love, I mean giving them a bowl of ice cream. Oh, well, if you're good, if you eat all your vegetables, then I'll give you ice cream. That's love with condition. If you check yourself at every mark, you're going to realize that, okay, if I am truly in love with me, then I bring happiness. And then with the happiness, I am going to have a peaceful armor on. So I'm going to be able to deal with this and that and this of this person and that of that person. And there was I belong to this group, Mujeres Fabulosas, on Facebook. And some guy wrote, so I was
Very
asked,
true. It's very true. You should be a part of that group.
and I was asked if I am happy. And I answered, one cannot be happy all the time. As long as I seek peace, then I'm satisfied. And I wrote back, acknowledging that you have peace is the path to knowing that you're happy. Because how do you find peace without happiness? Sometimes we work against ourselves. No, you're not going to be happy all day, every day, because things are going to happen. But when you understand yourself enough to know that you are your number one fan, your number one cheerleader, you're everything to yourself. It's not about being happy every second of your day. It's walking in happiness so you can handle all the obstacles that are going to happen every day. You're not going to let them overwhelm you, overcome you, or take you out of character. That's being and sitting and walking in your happiness, because you know that in order to remove that from you, you have to react to something you have no business reacting to. Do you get it? So
Got
you can be happy every day, because in knowing that you can handle anything that comes your way appropriately, that's your happiness. That is your peace. And that is when you realize that you are doing all of this because you are your first love. Go ahead, badass.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Disruptors.
So Madeline brought up something. Madeline said that she said, I think in Puerto Rican households, it was emphasized to love others first. It's
Yes.
not just Puerto Rican households. I think it's just generally most people are brought up this way, that like, because they don't understand self-love, and it gets very mixed up with self-centeredness, and people who are, like when a person loves themselves, there's this idea that they're going to be very entitled, or they're going to be very, arrogant. Like, oh, I think I'm all that, and we have to understand that we have to teach our children that that's not the case. Like, there's a difference between entitlement and self-centeredness, and centered self and self-love. And if it's just like this, if we can't love ourselves, how the hell are we supposed to love somebody else? And what we end up doing is looking outward to find what we can't find inward. Because it all connects. All the things that you think about loving somebody else, if you cannot apply that to yourself, then you technically will never be able to apply it honestly to another person. So it's lying to yourself. If you can't love yourself, then you're lying to yourself that you could love somebody else properly. So I wanted to read something. There is a book called The 7 Laws of Love, Essential Principles for Building Stronger Relationships. And when I read these, I want you to think of it in terms of yourself, not somebody else, because this book was written to create relationships, understandably, because that's how we're taught. It's like we have to love. So how do you build a strong relationship and love somebody? Well, let's apply it to ourselves. So number 1, it says that they share an ultimate vision about their relationship. You share an ultimate vision about who you are, about your relationship with yourself. They are committed to unconditional love. You are committed to unconditional love in general and for yourself. They fulfill each other's needs. You have to fulfill your needs. So you fulfill your needs. They trust the good intentions of the partner. You have to trust in your good intentions. They master effective communication. You have to communicate with yourself effectively. That means like self-talk, all that stuff. And we're actually going to talk about that on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to be actually talking about how to do this, when to do this, and how frequently. They keep curiosity alive. You have to keep curiosity alive for yourself. They never get tired of starting over. You need to never get tired of starting over for yourself. Life is learning forever. It's lifelong. Yeah. And so you have to look at yourself and say, what can I one up myself? What can I do differently? What can I try that I've never tried before? Could be something simple, but give it a try. And then another consideration is, here's what I want everybody to do. I want everybody, with terms of just love in general, not self-love. It could be loving other people. What do you know about loving someone that what goes with love? Like, one of the things that I know is respect. Like, if you love somebody, you respect them. In other words, that you really, you love them no matter what. Like, they're never going to be in a great mood all the time. They're never going to be the perfect person, because you're not. So you respect them. It's like you do for them because you have this element of respect for that individual. That is part of love. That's for me. Okay. That's one word that comes to mind for me. Yet we don't do that for ourselves. So if loving has the word respect in it for me, then I need to also be respecting myself. And then I have to ask myself, did I honor myself like that? Have I honored myself over the years and respected myself? And the answer was a big fat no. Like for years, for my entire life until I was at 46, and then even 2 years since then, I've disrespected myself. I decided that no, I wasn't worthy, and I needed to sabotage myself a little bit more. So what are your thoughts? So Gail says love has a trust that the other person has your back, right? So trusting in yourself. Like if trusting in the other person, what about trusting in ourselves? All right. Um, anybody else want to put that? Good morning, Janet, and good morning, Natalie. Anybody else? What does love mean to you? What do you know the definition of love is for you? Again, it doesn't have to be a self-love definition, just a love definition in general with regards to relationships. Or if it's easier, think of it in that term. Think in those terms. Think of it with regards to relationships that you have had in your life, whether it's with a parent, a child, a sibling, a friend, whoever, your grandparents. What do you define as love? What is your definition of love?
Well, can I say something that people might?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people avoid themselves and they pour themselves and will actually fight you when you say you must love yourself before you love your children. And they'll go on a rampage. And my thing is,
I
you are
agree with
so
you.
afraid of introducing yourself to yourself that you would rather fight a war that has already been won because you don't want to do no introspection on yourself. You do not want to get to know who you truly are, but you have this high expectation how everybody should treat you, the respect that you deserve, and so on and so forth. And Kathy, I get it. She says she wasn't raised she wasn't taught to self-love. I think many of us, our parents back in the 70s and 60s, they were so lost. I think I can speak for my parents. My mom was Italian. My father was a dark-skinned Puerto Rican. Her family just threw her away because she was with a dark-skinned man who just happened to be Puerto Rican, and that was no. And so she was isolated and was abused by my dad for many years. So what did we learn? We learned by putting our big girl panties on and saying, I'm not living that life. But I think we all were not taught. I don't think it was on purpose. I just thought it wasn't important back then. And if you were raised like that, then you know what? You are super blessed. And I'm happy that someone was raised like that. But I think we reach a point like right now, I had no mentor when I was young. I had nobody to say, look at it this way. You have this, because I was strongly opinionated. I had to be in control. I was like, get the fuck out my way. What's that?
Yeah, I would have never guessed that about you.
No, never. But you reach a point. So when I speak to the younger generation, I try to tell them I had nobody there. So I'm not talking to you because I read something out of a book. But sometimes it's like pulling teeth. So I think when you catch yourself putting yourself last, ask yourself, what am I running from? What part of me am I running away from? Just ask yourself that. You don't have, it's no rude words. There's no punishment. Just when you see yourself scouring away, going into a corner, and all you want to do is complain about a situation that you're not participating in, just sit with yourself and say, what am I running from? And then maybe you can and write whatever comes to mind. It doesn't have to make sense. Just write it down, get it out of you, and then revisit it later. Why? Because sometimes we are so unfamiliar with ourselves, the selves that we are demanding from others, respect and acknowledgement and all this other stuff. Ask yourself that. Because you are the most important person in your life. Without you, your children would not be here. Without you, your children probably would not have learned how to speak when they did. They wouldn't eat properly. Like, you are the most important person. So we have to learn how to love that part of ourselves, even though we think chaos is running every other part of ourselves. Love yourself and then work on everything else. Everything else, the carpet will roll out for you. But first, you got to acknowledge that you are the first and true love of your life at this age because you have survived it all. You're on the other side, a bit disheveled, maybe limping. Who gives a shit? You made it to the other side. So that's what you got to honor in yourself. And it doesn't matter what we weren't taught back in the day. I was taught alcoholism. I was taught domestic violence. I was taught drug taking. That's everything I saw. Nothing that I do. So it's up to you. Your parents didn't ruin your life. What you chose to bring into this part of yourself, your choice.
That's the
What's
truth.
ruining your life.
That's the truth, because they did. And I know it's sometimes really hard to hear the statement, because sometimes I get a little annoyed with the statement, but it is the truth. They did the best they could with the information they had. They only knew what they knew, and they did it that way. And that's what we have to take ownership of too. Especially if you're the age that we are, we have children, most of them are adults. And we have to own the fact that we raised them according to the way we were. So there's no point in feeling feeling at all guilty for bad choices that we made and raising kids a certain way because we didn't know any better. The point is you just say, well, now I know, and now I'm going to do better, and own it. And your kids could blame you for everything in the world and say, well, you should have known better. I didn't, though. So now it's up to you I'm here to help guide you. And if you need that, but because I love you, but I can't go back and change things in time. So we have to be where we are at this moment and say, okay, I didn't know how to love properly. Now I do. And when I look back at how disrespectful I was to myself, because I allowed so much crap in my life from people, and I allowed it because I thought that that's how it was supposed to be, because that's how I was raised, and I never questioned it until I got older and started to say, this really doesn't feel good. Like, this doesn't feel good to me. This is not right. I've been a good person, and then people have done this, like treated me this way so disrespectfully. I had to say that was because I allowed it.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do now to change it? Is I have to decide for me. First, I had to define it. What is respecting myself? I want to get to the comments, but I also want to read something. So just some definitions that I've just pulled up online of what self-love is. And they're pretty, This one says this is from tinybuddha.com. I love tinybuddha.com.
Me too.
It says self-love is a constant choice. It's not a magical feeling that appears to you one day. It's a commitment to your boundaries, your well-being, your mental and emotional health, and your body. Beautifully said. This one says self-love means that you accept yourself fully, treat yourself with kindness and respect, and nurture your growth and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
This one says regard for one's own well-being and happiness, chiefly considered as a desirable rather than narcissistic characteristic. That's the more formal definition. This one says treating yourself with respect, treating others with kindness, holding yourself accountable for long-term well-being. Let's see, one more we'll do. And this one says, if it pulls up, where is it? It's not pulling up. Oh. Self-love is not something you acquire. It's always been there and it never left, waiting for you to shed the layers of identification with the thoughts of your mind and return back home. The greatest love story ever told. I love that one. Like, that was, what a nice one to use as the last one.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I would like to read something.
Yep.
Sorry, I hope I don't cough with it. And then give feedback, because that was beautiful, Laura. That last one was like, boom. Even though I love the little Buddha, all of them were nice. I love to be reading the little ones. Says, when you go out into the world every day of your life, be curious. Be ridiculously curious. Look at the environment and its humans and acknowledge, accept, admire, and celebrate. Way too often, we are so caught up in our messes that we do not notice our loss of appetite for life. Our palates go numb, and our desires for something different gets placed on the back burner. When did the lights dim in our spirits? Where did we abandon our wonderment of all things simple, of all things vibrant, of all things me? Life has a way of dropping you on your ass, and when you allow your confusions to get twisted, why is it difficult to decide to go forward towards a passion, a desire, or a goal? Permission or forgiveness? What would your choice be? Mine is always the latter. I follow my heart, and it always causes discomfort in others. Always, because they cannot or maybe will not make the choice to free their spirits to go forth in the direction of their purpose due to fear of naysayers and lack of total commitment to themselves. I have learned that nothing good is easy, for easy is just easy. My favorite age is now. My soul is my sacred essence of truths and of truth seeking. Autumn has always been my favorite season, and it is because it teaches me the circle of life. Autumn teaches that it is okay to let go, to die a little, to abandon awe in which does not serve us. My favorite season teaches and prepares. Once we get out of our own way, which for me is a horrendous task, we learn to let go. The winter arrives, forcing us to grow into our new version, putting our pain on ice while our thoughts grapple with the losses, so that when spring arrives, our spirits will emerge with fresh bouquets of vibrant emotions and the serenity of the soul, and hopefully with no residual sorrow. Again, I ask, where do we abandon our wonderment of all things simple, of all things vibrant, of all things me? We bury it deep and ignore the shit out of it, hoping it dissipates on its own. It doesn't. It simply robs us of our destined joy and inner happiness of all things. So I would tell you to follow your path, and if a detour occurs, then handle it with as much attention as it deserves and get back on your path. Living in your moment means knowing your worth always. Live your beliefs, love your body as is, love and trust your mind, learn to be selfless, learn to let go of all things which does not serve your soul, protect your peace, learn to unlock your greatness, take adventures and laugh and laugh and laugh. Open up your mind to be courageous, bold, be a boss. Keep your sensitive spirit. Go out into the world and inspire every soul you meet. Peace, passion, purpose. And that is called Be Ridiculously Curious by Margarita de
And that is
Margarita.
by Gladiator Guru. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That was beautiful, and everybody's loving it. Like everybody's loving this. So you can tell them where they can purchase that. By the way,
It's on my book. It's in my book, Soul Searching for Peace, but it's also on my blog, goddesssavvy.com. I have several of them. But, that is self-love. When Lori was talking, I was like, wait a minute, I think I have something. Because we do lose that wow about ourselves. Like when? Like at what time? During 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 what specific time that we're in somebody's presence that it seems like the sun hasn't come out, so we just let me not say no, I don't want you to think.
Sometimes it's not even that we lose it. We never had it. Like we
You
never
think?
had it.
I think like any sickness that lays dormant within our bodies and our cells, I think it's there. I just think
Well, no, it is. You're right. Especially according to that last thing, it's always been there. But I think that's when we're brought up, when we're raised, that's the part the role that our caregivers play. They lay the foundation to say, yeah, it's always it's within you, let it shine, or you need to suppress it. And and I look back at like my life as a child, and I look back at my parents, and I see why I developed the way I did because they themselves were suppressed. They themselves were thought to believe a certain thing, and they lied to themselves on a daily basis. And I mean, I'm grateful for the fact that I finally woke up to that. And I'm still in the process of kicking my own ass because I love to fall back on that. It's just easier to fall back on old habits and subconscious beliefs and self-sabotaging things, because then you don't have to take ownership of it, and you're afraid of the change that's possible. And this is interesting. One of the commitments that I decided to make to myself when I was looking for the love shirts and stuff, I said, you know what? I'm going to wear these love shirts as much as possible for the month of February. I'm going to dress with the red. I'm going to, and the pinks, and focus on love as much as possible to bring it towards me, because I'm ready myself for that part of my life as well. I'm ready for somebody to come in that loves me in the way that I deserve to be loved. That basically, that loves me the way I love myself. So I want to put that out there. I want that energy to flow so that it is going to attract the right people. As far as I'm concerned, whatever comes towards me, I will be able to recognize whether or not, it's just like in The Alchemist, it's an omen. It's a sign. I will be able to recognize what is a sign to go towards and what is a sign to redirect. But changing our energy, our vibrational energy, is key. So people, you read that all the time when you're looking at, energy and personal development. It's like, if you want money to come to you, you have to change your relationship with money. If you want love to come to you, you have to change your relationship with love. So it's that this is not just for me the month of love, and this is the month of self-love and honoring myself and deciding what really is important to me. And one of them is boundaries. Boundaries are very, very important to me. And if I cannot say to myself, I have the right to request this, then I'm just respecting myself. I don't have the right to demand other people change for me. What I have the right to do, though, is say, this is not going to work for me. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, and move into a different direction, because I'm not going to manipulate and put my agenda on somebody else. And all of that comes with self-love. It's self-understanding. I want to read a couple of things that were written here. So Madeline said, that doesn't mean accepting bad behavior. It means loving someone where they are, accepting that they are who they are, being honest with yourself and them about what isn't working for you and about the situation, respecting them and yourself regardless if they are or aren't ready to change. That's right. That's like not taking ownership of other people's stuff. But again, everything that we say with regards to a relationship, apply it to ourselves. Like, if we're having bad behavior, ask yourself why. What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And it's okay. It's not saying it's not okay. It's just, but say why. Why am I in a bad mood? Why am I pissed off? Who quote triggered me? Why is this happening? It means loving yourself for where you are too. I'm going to just keep flipping all of these. So get used to it. It's accepting who you are at this moment in time.
I think you're right, because, at the end of the day, what people, hello, Henny, my son-in-law's on. Dios te bendiga. I can't believe he says it to me.
And Ramirez Maggie, good morning.
Hello, Maggie. Listen, I'm going to take it back to where I always take it, because nobody does anything to you that you have not allowed. Boom.
Yeah.
Drop it.
And that hurts.
When you have misunderstood emotions within you, you find somebody as a target and you start criticizing them constantly. You start nagging them. Nothing they do is good for you. Everything they do is like, ugh, I can't believe she's doing that again. He's doing that again. That's when, like I said earlier, stop, remove yourself, ask yourself, what is going on with me that I am finding so much fault in them? Nobody can aggravate you to the point unless there's something you're camouflaging in your own ass. So
Ouch.
When someone's annoying you really, really bad and you've checked yourself, then you don't need to be around that person, because that person is probably going against the grain of what you hold value to. So it's not always that it's always definitely your fault, but the majority of the time, why does somebody rub you off? When somebody, I analyze everybody I come in, even when I'm walking on the camino. Iris is the social butterfly. I'm at the door watching everybody. And if my energy tells me no, then I just don't. I'm nice. Hello, how are you? Oh, where you from? There's chatter, but there's no sit down and conversation. You understand? There's a difference. I'll talk to you, but I won't converse with you if I feel that energy. And I don't know you from Adam, but I know your energy because I saw it the minute you walked in the room. But there's people who are not truly in love with themselves, but they have an expectation of what they deserve. Well, I work hard, so I deserve to buy this.
Yeah, that's the entitlement. That's the
Now you're monitoring someone else's spending. Or I've had a hard day. I deserve to just, go MIA, and now everybody's blowing up your phone because they're worried, but you're like, you know what? Let somebody know. Listen, I'm going to check out for an hour. I'll check back in. I'll let you know when I'm back. That's just honoring yourself to be respected of your privacy, so nobody's blowing up your phone, interrupting your little me time. But also, they're your family, or they're someone you love. You're also giving them the opportunity to say, she just needs some time away. She says she's going to call us when she's done within an hour. 2 hours pass by. Of course, you're going to call and check up. But what I'm saying is something so simple to that can end relationships, that can destroy family dynamics because they feel disrespected. The other one feels like, well, if I don't monitor her, she's not going to do right. And it's all because we are avoiding something within. Catherine, you said something about a picture of a 5-year-old. Well, let me tell you something. You made me think back. As I'm reading what you wrote, I'm in my head going back in the archive. And I think the only baby picture from baby to 5 that I have, I think the only time I'm smiling was when I was 6 months old on my baptism on my grandmother's lap, because I went through, in my head, the archives, and I was either crying or like trying to get away from. And so, yeah, see, we retain stuff, but what you said was very beautiful because, sit with that 5-year-old, go to the swing sets, go to a jumpy house, become that 5-year-old and laugh and do things that you wish you could have done at 5. I love going to the swings. I love going to the kids' things, and I love to swing on the swing. And I think that's my healing for my childhood, for my inner child. So I'm not saying do what I do. What I'm saying is find something that a 5-year-old would enjoy and just do it. I just do it because that's what you deserve. Because that's what you're seeking for you. You don't deserve someone to know that you're not feeling well so that they should bring you soup. No, ask for it. You don't know how many people are like, well, he knew I was sick. Why didn't he bring me soup? But did you ask him? No, but he should have known. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know what? Just because they're your husband or your wife or your child, your adult child who probably works at a soup kitchen, I don't know. But you still got to say.
That works at a soup kitchen.
Right? I'm just saying.
He worked at a soup kitchen. He couldn't even bring me soup.
And that's the assumption we are placing on others to avoid being outspoken for ourselves. You're not advocating for yourself, so you're leaving it in their hands, and then you get pissed off because they didn't have, what's that word? Telekinetic.
Yeah.
What's that with ESP?
They just didn't read your mind.
So whose fault is it? Is it his fault or her fault because they didn't read your mind or assume? You don't know what their day was like. Telepathy. So what I'm saying is just simple things like that. When you love yourself, then you love and honor the person around you.
Well, can I jump in and say something with regard to that specific thing too? Is that we have a tendency to make assumptions that, they have to, like you said, read our mind. If this individual you're right. You don't know what kind of day they have. But if they do this all the time, like they're not thoughtful like that. That's because and this has been going on for years. Like I hear women say this all the time. Oh, my husband doesn't do this. He never thinks about me, because you trained him that way. You allowed him to
Amen.
be
I
that
didn't
way.
need you.
But wait, here's the rub. It's because you also have no respect for yourself. It's the self-love piece. It started with you. If you love yourself, you have no problem being bold and saying what it is that you like and training the person. And they're either going to step up. Like we're going to talk about, let us see, we're going to talk about the love languages next week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the love languages, if you don't know what your love language is, then you have to learn to know your love language. And there's nothing wrong with telling an individual in your life that this is what's important to me. Like my love language, I know, is touch. I like physical touch.
Ooh, I
So
hate
I
it.
have to be with people that like touching, like that not only, I mean, I like receiving probably a little bit more than giving, but I'm a giver too. But I love my feet rubbed. I love my back leg rubbed. That I like sitting on the couch next to somebody. So it's if the individual that I want to be intimate with doesn't like that, I'm not going to get mad at the person. I'm not going to expect them to change as a result of me, because that's a hard one. Not
Yes,
everybody's
it
into that.
is.
But I have the right to say, well, I know me, and this isn't going to work, because I have to have that. That's part of my love to self. So if I want to be, my kids are that way. I'm that way with my pets. I'm that way. I like getting massages, but I know me. So it is a question of, yeah, he never brings me the soup. It's like, but has he ever brought you the soup? And did you tell him early on that, hey, I really like these kind of things when I'm not feeling well? Because then we also do this. Well, I do it for him. When he's not feeling well, I'm taking care of him. Well, and guess what? You've gotten him trained to say, well, I don't have to do anything for her, but I have an expectation. And then they get demanding. They get all whiny and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you didn't
And
make
those
me
are
soup.
insecurities, right?
Yes.
Those are insecurities. But you said something very important, badass. Love languages. When the love is genuine, because it's a facade. Being in love lasts you like 3 months. That in love feeling. And if you went a little longer, well, lucky you. But within those 3 months, that's when you really need to be a great student and figure out, is this something that when this facade of orgasmic feelings stops
When the
coursing
honeymoon is over.
through my loins, do we have? See, you know what turns me on? Conversation. I'm a sapiosexual person. We can have a conversation, and I'm sitting here having this in-depth conversation with you, having magical orgasms as we're speaking. So is that partner that you're so physically attracted to someone that doesn't share your love language, but because the love is so true that they're going to learn how to rub your feet? And you got to understand, it'll probably be a once every other week type of deal. But are you willing to settle for that? Because the love, the understanding, the commitment, the goals, rising your family up, is that stronger than that physical attraction that drew you together? And a lot of people don't take the time for that and then become so disappointed in themselves. Well, what did you bring to the table, Missy? And that's a conversation people get uncomfortable with. So, what our love language are true. As a matter of fact, I have a book that I bought from Mateo that he didn't take, but I'm gonna find another one because I want to have them for all. It's the children's love languages, because we all share something different. Now, Iris is like you. I don't like to be touched. I don't like people sitting next to me on the couch. I don't care if I'm so in love with you. No, that's my space. If I hug you, you're so very lucky. And every time I hug somebody, they're like, "Oh, you give good hugs," but I don't like to be touched. And you could be crying in front of me, and I'm gonna sit my ass right where I'm at, and I'm gonna ask you if you need a tissue. I'm not those, and that's me. And even my son, like the night before last, we're talking, He broke down, and I sat right in the rocking chair. But he don't feel bad because he knows me. That's a whole lifelong thing. If you latch on to me while you're crying, I'm not gonna push you away, but it is not something that I enjoy. So that's not totally my love language. But if I have to, then I will. Meaning have to because I want to, because it is a moment thing, you know? But Iris, I have literally pushed her to the other side of the couch because she knows I don't like to chickies. But then my daughter's the same way. Okay, and let's cuddle, and I look at her. So she'll just come over a little. And that's just me. It's, you know what, like Catherine Marie was saying, like many of us who are who have suffered sexual assault as young as, under 8 years old, touch is something we have to invite into our lives. It probably has nothing to do with love language, but it has to do with, because of the trauma, I need to invite you in to actually be close to me. But I don't put that out there. But that's what I'm saying. If somebody comes up and gives me a hug, I'm gonna hug them. If I really feel your energy is like, wow, then yeah, I'm gonna embrace you. So, it's Henny, Argenis. I don't know if he's still on. Argenis is a love language where he is, what is the other one where they do things?
Service to others.
A service. And what's the other one? Because he also likes to be touched, but he's more of a service. He'll come home.
There's affirmations. There's
Yes.
oh my goodness, I had them memorized.
Yes, but those two are good. Because,
Yeah.
I think all men, and if you're on our Janice, don't get upset because I'm generalizing on men. All men love to be needed. They love
Gifts, giving gifts. That's another one.
I had someone that was his love language, and I hate receiving gifts.
I do too.
I had to tell him stop. And then he was a little perturbed that I said, don't ever send me flowers. I don't like to receive flowers. I don't like flowers. You were talking about the little Buddha. And let me tell you the difference between like and love that I learned from. It says Buddha, that Buddha came up with this. So we're going to go with that. But someone said, what's the difference between like and love? And the Buddha says, when you see a rose bush and you find it beautiful and you pluck it off the bush and you walk away, you like it because you just killed it. But when you love, you would admire it where it's at. That's just like life. When you learn that after the 3 months of in love, and you're stuck, right? Especially if you chose to get married within those 3 months. Now you're stuck like Chuck. Love them where they are. That's why I keep saying, when I meet someone, I meet them where they are so that I can know where to place them. But if you love somebody where they are, and then you are genuine because you love yourself, then they're going to learn from you. They're going to learn your mannerisms. They're going to learn how you flow. And then they're going to bend because they admire that. And then you're going to notice how they do things. How, my husband who passed away, he loved to put his shoe toe to toe, very neat in the closet. I'll throw those bitches in the closet, boop, right? So he would shake his head. So he would put mine side by side. And then I would do other things that I noticed he liked. And that's how we manage. And that's how you manage. But if you're one to never seek help, I don't want them to know I need anything. And then you're like, he never does nothing for me. Then you know what? I don't even know what to tell you. What would you tell them, badass?
I don't know. I was writing something.
Oh, well, okay. So let's read the comments because there's a lot of good comments here. Virginia. Hi, Virginia. Yeah, I know, Madeline. How dare they? Telepathy isn't a thing. Yeah, see, Iris, me too. I'm a jiggy person, and she knows I'm not. And I swear to God, I think Iris does it on purpose. I think she loves to be roughhoused by me and insulted. When Marty and I were dating, I could always read his mind. He couldn't put some things into words. I would finish his sentence. He was like, "How do you do that? That's beautiful." That's when I tell people, "Get out of my head." Madeline, I had to share with this group that I have seen the most beautiful love story. My daughter gave birth last week, and my son-in-law has been a loving partner who has cared for both my daughter and my grandson. He washed her and fed her. She has allowed others to help them during this time. It's been beautiful. And that is beautiful because it takes a village.
I think that, so I think, so Thursday, what we're going to talk about is Love on the Daily. That's the name of the show.
Oh my God, we're done?
And we're going to be talking about the how and the when and the frequency, like how to love yourself, when to love yourself, how often should you love yourself? You know, we're going to talk about that. And a lot of it is stuff that you've heard before, and a lot of it makes sense. But you have to hear it again. It's something that we want all of you to be in that discussion. We want you to add to that conversation, because maybe you're adding something that we didn't think about, or maybe what you're thinking is a way of doing it, and maybe there's a better way, you know, or maybe there's a better way than what we're saying. That's the whole point of the conversation, is that we have to be reminded of this, because we weren't trained for that. We weren't trained to again, based on our parents, because we were raised by how they were raised and their experiences. And most parents do try to do better, you know, than their parents, you know, and sometimes they think they're doing better, and really that in some ways that they're not doing better.
You know why?
Why?
Because we go from one side of the spectrum to how we viewed our parents, and then we go to the total opposite, and we miss all these baby steps.
Yes, I agree with you.
We created monsters, entitled asses. And so, yeah, we go from here. We stay here. We think we're going to be as terrible as our parents, but were they that terrible? And then we go all the way over here. And I was just telling my daughter-in-law that's what I understood what you wrote, Gail. I was actually going to read it next. And I raised bougie kids because I didn't have nothing. So then I raised them every other week. They were getting a brand new pair of Nikes or Reeboks or whatever was in style. And then you know what was my threat to them that I'm not proud of, but I'm not ashamed of either? I'm like, keep messing up your sneakers. I'm going to take your ass to Payless and get you the light ones when you walk. So guess what? They didn't ruin their sneakers. So,
and then that also told them not to shop there.
Yeah, well, they knew Payless was no name brand, so I created bougie.
Like, I'm never shopping at Payless. Thank God they went out of business.
Bougie. So yes, Gail, like the badass Buddha said, you played a major role in your daughter being exactly like that, very self-sufficient. And Gail, yeah, I need to give permission. Like I said, I know who you are the minute your spirit walks through the door, not your face. And then I realize, I'm gonna be polite. And Iris often would say, why don't you talk to them? They're rude. Because there was just not a connection. So yeah, play with me, talk to me, cook for me is a big thing, Gail, because I let them know off rip, I don't cook. So Iris, I never get that guy.
And the other thing is too, is that, you know, when we get in, I can't wait to get into the love languages, because here's the other thing too, is that the more you get to know each other, you'll also find that out of the love languages, you're not just one, you know, there's like one main one, and then there's like subcategories.
Yes.
And you have to honor yourself with that. Like, acts of service. I love doing stuff for people, and a lot of people do, because it makes them have a purpose, you know? And so when we dishonor the person by saying, I don't need you to do that for me, because we are not comfortable, because we have our own shit that's going on. That's the one time where you really are being selfish, because like, if you have somebody that loves to cook and then you say, no, you don't need to cook for me. It's like, but they love cooking. They love
self-sabotaging.
That's part of their celebration of love. Like, I love cooking. I want to cook for you. And then to blow them off like that. But again, that's where we have to ask ourselves, why would I do that? Like, if I'm going to dismiss somebody else's love language, why would I expect them to respect mine if I'm dismissing theirs? And that's why when you get to know yourself, the more you get to know yourself, the better you are at knowing other people, even when they don't know themselves. Like, I could look at other people that I have known in my life and know exactly what their love language is. And they may not have no concept of it. They may not have no idea what the hell I'm even talking about, but I know it. And when I do not honor them to allow them to do their love language, that's when problems ensue. Like my ex. My ex he's a totally acts of service. Like he has to do stuff for you. And if I dismiss that and tell him not and blow it off and you don't have to do that for me, he gets upset. Like he gets really upset and he gets very like his depression comes out as anger. But I see it, now. So it's like I have to allow, you and again, this is all about you. And that's why we're doing this. This is not about bettering your relationships with other people. This is about bettering your relationship with yourself. And as you better your relationship with yourself, your relationships with other people automatically upgrade. It's automatic. You don't even have to try. It's automatic. That's the little nugget that people never share, is that if you want a better relationship in your life, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your parents, friends, significant other, you got to start with bettering the relationship with yourself, and then the rest will fall into play.
Well, if you want to know anybody, you just have to learn yourself. And you said something very important. I know we got to go, but listen, Benita, hola, Benita, you would like her, badass. She is truly a badass. Just a little tidbit about her. I met her the other day as she works at a funeral home. She had high heel boots, a dress, took off her jacket, picked it up, carried it out the house, down the steps into the car. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, wow, like that chick is amazing. So yeah, Benita the badass. And I love her name. But let me tell you, when you love yourself and you know who you are and you know that you love yourself, like you have to be in a relationship with yourself, you will honor other people.
Yeah.
Nobody will affect you. You won't get upset easy. You won't feel disrespected, ignored. You won't need validation from other people, but you will see them. And then their love language, or whatever the case may be, whatever scenario you're in with them at that time. But with the self-love that you introduce yourself to now, or you reintroduce yourself to, or you bring it up a notch, you will understand the cultivation of self-trust, of self-belief, of self-respect. And when you have those and you honor those, then you can look at somebody and realize they're just not where you're at, or they're rising up to where the best of their capabilities, and you won't judge them. You will be using discernment, and you would say they're working on it. So there's nothing for you to get upset or bothered about that person. They're at their level that you once was in. That is self-love. And when you self-love, you self-honor. When you self-honor, you look at people with discernment.
Yes.
And you choose wisely in your judging. And you wait for them, because just like you had to rise one step at a time to become the badass you are, they're also rising. They just started at a different time. Okay? So we didn't get to all the stuff, but
we'll do it on Thursday. Kathy brought up she asked, she said, can we, how about posting some topic ideas to think about before the next show? We'll try to do that. We're not always good at posting in our Facebook page, but we will try to do that. If not, we will do it first thing in the morning and we'll post it in the comments too. But that's the conversation that we're going to have is loving on the daily, is taking understanding self-love and then applying it, because it's one thing, again, to know it, what it is and understand it, but then to actually apply it and what does that mean for you. So thanks everybody for coming on and all the comments. They're wonderful. This is the love month. We have a lot of time to talk about love, and we have a lot of topics on this. So thanks for being here today, and we'll see you on Thursday. So yes, you good? Glad you're good?
Yes.
All right, from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And I quickly read through all the comments, great comments. We're going to bring it back. We got to bring it back on Thursday. They're great. Catherine, also Madeline, thank you. And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.